We get these incredible artists that all have this different perspective, all have a mutually deep love of the songs. We're trying to celebrate that music with a new spin through the singular lens of this incredible world-class collective of people that are all participating in this celebration. And it's often a situation where I get to work with a world-class artist like Dawes and Matt Schultz from Cagey Elephant and Jenny Lewis and Rick from Goose and John Oates all on one show. All of a sudden you're like, okay, we have a shot to make history. And the artists whose artistry we're celebrating and we're paying homage to, their music was created with that exact same thing. We're gonna create something historic. And it's been the soundtrack to our lives.
And that's a dream set.
This is the first one I've done in a long time that had this specific theme of celebrating or recreating a specific artist's music. And I've never worked with this group of people before. It's my first time doing a show like this with Dawes. It's a little bit of a dream to be able to work with a band of this caliber. I'm like all of a sudden partnered up with an incredible artist that means so much to me, like an artist hero. And we're able to say, okay, here's a hero of ours that we both share love, admiration for. And just, you know, the music has meant so much to us, and we're going to work together to create something that we hope is going to do it justice. I take a creative approach in sort of conceptualizing what I think would be a really special show for the audience for this event, and then go out to the artists and see who sort of gravitates toward the concept and see who's inspired to do something special.
This will be my third one of these type things. I started out with one of the producers, Paul Peck, at Bonnaroo in 2013 with Jim James, and we put together this all-star super jam with Brittany Howard and Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone, and Billy Idol sang. I mean, it was just an incredible experience. That was the first time I did it, and I was the music director on that, so I had a lot more responsibility on that one. This one's way easy because Dawes is carrying the weight. All I have to do is go and play. I love stepping into other people's worlds. You know, musical worlds. It's really cool. It takes you out of your comfort zone. You get to play other people's songs. You get to do things that maybe, you know, the fans might not expect. And here again, I think most musicians, even though they might be known for a certain thing, they like a lot of different things. And it's always a challenge and fun to play something else, you know.
When we're asked to play a festival just as Dawes, it's easy to just kind of roll in, and we don't really need any prep or rehearsal because we play these songs all the time. So doing something like this that is really unique, it's worth it and it's rewarding, but it's a lot more work. But like I said, like that's what makes it like so much more of a triumph when it's achieved. This stuff is always like, okay, we got to really make sure we set aside our time and energy, but we're always happy to do so.
So I just did some shows with Dwayne and his band, Barry and Lamar and Johnny in Wyoming. And so seeing them again today with Chuck was really cool. It was unexpected. You know, that's the thing about rock and roll. It's still very off the cuff. And you never know what you're going to show up and get to do. But it's always an honor to share a stage with legendary people. And it's, you know, you pinch yourself and you're like, man, how'd I get here? Well, I don't want to ask too many questions. I just, you know, appreciate having the best seat in the house on stage.
You take it on faith, you drink it to the heart. The ride is the highest part.
Some people I've never met before that I'm playing with tonight. Others I've known for a long time, like Ivan Neville and Chuck. You know, we go way back. You know, when I heard Chuck was here, you know, Chuck invented the keyboard solo, you know, on Jessica, you know, the idea of moving up the scale and the arrangement of how to do a keyboard solo. You know, Chuck invented that, I guess, along with Raymond Zarek, but he just started that whole thing for me, you know. It's just a great dynamic. You're kind of in a new band, but playing with old friends at the same time. So it's been great, you know, we've been here for 3 days now, so it's kind of like we're a band, you know. And not just a bunch of guys jamming together. So it's been great.
I'm playing on the Tom Petty Dreamset guitar on a song with Dawes, who are good friends of mine, and I played with them for a year and a half or so, and so that's really exciting. I mean, naturally, I get asked to do a lot of Allman Brothers-centric stuff. This is kind of the first time I've helped curate one of them.
With this dream set, this lineup is phenomenal. I mean, just coming into this, seeing who all was playing, I was able to breathe a sigh of relief because I just knew, these are real professionals, real cats. So coming in, it wasn't like a stressful, oh God, we're gonna have to figure all this out and it's gonna take forever. I mean, everybody's just right on it. Everybody knows the music. Yeah, it's really nice. It's nice to be in this lineup with so many professionals, but that are down to earth. There's no egos or any of that business. I mean, heck, we're playing with a Rolling Stone. You can't beat that.
Wake up, mama, turn your lamp down low.
Well, I joined the Allman Brothers almost exactly 50 years ago, in '72. I was working on Greg Allman's first solo record, which was called Laid Back. And after the sessions for that, there began to be these jams after hours. So Dickie, Butch, J-Mo, Barry Oakley all came down, and we would just pick a key and go, or we might do an Allman Brothers song or a blues song. But these jam sessions began to occur, and after about 2 weeks of that, I get a call from Phil Walden, who was the band's manager, saying, I want to see you in my office. What did I do wrong? And I go in the office, and there's all the guys in the band in the office, as well as Phil. And the shoe dropped. Phil said, listen, the guys feel like this is going in a very interesting place. Would you like to join the band? Yes, I would. I had just turned 20 years old at the time, so it's a great memory for me. We had a wonderful golden era. We did the Brothers and Sisters record. Of course, we had Ramblin' Man, Jessica, Come and Go Blues, all songs that did very well on the radio back in the day. We had that configuration of the Allman Brothers for almost 5 years. Well, I think it's very cool that we want to celebrate the music of the Allman Brothers Band with this particular core band that we have, which of course includes my co-musical director, Dwayne Betts, and that's Dickie's son, of course, and we just found that we do very, very well together. We have a great time. He's an awesome guitar player. And then, of course, we have a great lineup of the rest of the band, Barry Oakley Jr. on bass, and Johnny Statula on guitar, and Sonny from Widespread Panic, JoJo from Widespread Panic. So it's really, it consists of a lot of guys that have been influenced by the band, but this is special for me, again, because I was in the band.
Turn Uncle John from your door.
You see this come around every now and then. You have people that do Bruce Springsteen or might do David Gilmour, Pink Floyd. I think there are a lot of celebrations of artists, if you will. I know on this festival there's a celebration of Tom Petty. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll get to see it or not, but I think it's a great idea, especially since, God bless him, he's gone.
Tom Petty's music is a big deal for me. I feel like it taught me how to write songs. It taught me about the economy of songwriting. It taught me about the kind of the sanctity of songwriting as well. When you hear or read Tom Petty talking about it, he often will refer to himself as not really knowing how these songs happen, that they just kind of fall out of him, and he doesn't ask too many questions. He just kind of lets it happen. Like Tom would just be at a microphone and songs would just fall out, chords, words, everything. And then they would just do one more time to just kind of clean up the scrappiness in certain sections. So that really resonated with me as to how songs can work, because I've always been the kind of guy that wants to fill a page and then just start editing and overthink things. And he seems so instinctual. That always was a big deal. Also, the romance of a rock and roll band, an American rock and roll band, I feel like is personified by the Heartbreakers, similar to the E Street Band or the Dead or something, but very much its own thing. There seems like this quality where Petty can't exist without the Heartbreakers, and the Heartbreakers can't exist without Petty, and they all play these little roles. Every intro of a song has a iconic guitar riff or a epic third verse piano part or a bass lick that feels crucial to the song. Like it feels like you get to know all of them as a unit. And as growing up as a guitar player and as like a band member, there's nothing more romantic than that. So I feel like learning these songs again, even though we've had them in our fingers for years, just kind of reminding ourselves what this band's all about is always such a good lesson in how solid a rock and roll song and a rock and roll band can be.
You know, we actually shared the same video directors for some of our videos. The same guy who did his Alice in Wonderland video did our Out of Touch video. And he was kind of trippy, and it was really cool because I saw the, I kind of saw where that was coming from. He's one of the great American songwriters. You know, he has that classic American songwriter tradition. His songs are deceivingly simple, but really, really profound. And, I've had a greater appreciation when I've had a chance to actually play some of them for the first time. You know, it's one thing to listen, but then again, when you start to learn them and you see that even though the chords are pretty straightforward and kind of simple, there's just the elegance to it, which is always the mark of a good song anyway.
Growing up, when I did that, it was already such a fixture, such a staple. You know, I can think of a time when my sister went to college in upstate, like Western New York, and there was this band called Uncle Plum. It was like a cover band in the area that was a really popular cover band. And I was a kid. She was 10 years older than me. I went to visit her in college, and this band was playing. And I remember they played American Girl, and I had never heard that song before because I was 12 or something. And it was like it stuck with me for a very, very long time. So it's like personal experiences like that stick with you and inspire you. And I've had those, experiences with Tom Petty songs and with Allman Brothers songs. That, I think, just informs this moving forward and how you find your own voice in your own music.
The music of the Allman Brothers is, like most people, part of my childhood. I think generationally, no matter when you're born, it's part of your childhood because it's part of the American Songbook. I have 2 older brothers, and I probably learned those songs and that catalog from my oldest brother, David. And it's just, I love harmony singing, so even as a kid, I probably started singing harmony early. Statesboro Blues is one of the first songs I learned to play on guitar and accompany myself with. So yeah, it's the catalog of American music.
God, it's what I grew up listening to back when I first started listening to music. They, they just took music to a whole new level that no one had ever heard before. There's just not a lot of bands that create a whole genre, and they're one. They've created this whole genre out of nowhere, which is just incredible. So, but they're part of the soundtrack of my whole life, And now I've gotten to kind of fall in with the people who play the music, and I play with Chuck Leavell now, and members of the Allman Brothers. So it's, when you play with your heroes, it's a big deal. Yeah.
It's the kind of music that allows you to dig down deep and find out who you are as a musician, because it's music that doesn't play it safe. In a lot of rock music, bands play songs where each musician is playing a specific part, and from night to night, concert to concert, you're essentially playing those same parts. So in the Allman Brothers, if you went to see them 5 nights in a row, you would get a different experience each of the 5 nights. And that's a really special quality that a band can have. It enables the musician that's playing with them or playing their music to explore a lot of avenues and experience new things.
In my eyes, when I first listened to the Allman Brothers back in 1969, they were just like the hottest band around. I worked with the band Widespread Panic, and so we did a tour with the Allman Brothers. When the tour was in the growing stages, I was the first one to say, well, yeah, let's do it. It was a dream come true, to sit in with them, to be on the same tour, because they're legends. And even to this day, look where we're at right now, 2 of their sons are successful musicians. So, it's kind of a treat, to know that, hey, I'm second generations for these cats,
Oh boy, what does the music of the Allman Brothers mean to me? That's mainly family and tradition, just being an Oakley myself. But it's timeless. It's Americana music history. So, it's definitely deep-rooted.
The music of of the Allman Brothers band is, it's just timeless. It's like a river that just keeps on flowing that you can't stop, and it's great music, A lot of people love it, and it's fun music to play. This set with Chuck, it makes it really special because my father and him were on so many classic records together, so many classic songs, on Brothers and Sisters, and so it's really special for me to do it with somebody like that.
Well, first of all, for me, this is a set entirely of Allman Brothers music. I haven't counted them up, but there's probably 12, 15 at least songs. And for me, to celebrate that music, having been there back in the 70s, I get to relive it, and I've had a wonderful career working with other artists. I've been musical director for the Stones for 40 years now. I had the pleasure of working with Eric Clapton for a couple of years, George Harrison, John Mayer, David Gilmour, and some others. So to come full circle back around to when I was 20 years old, joining the Allman Brothers band is pretty special.
It's a really special opportunity. It's almost like you almost work in the church or something to be able to recreate and celebrate and explore this classic material in a new way. And so there's a responsibility to do it justice. And on top of that, there's a responsibility with the artists. We have a little bit of credibility after having done this for so long that the artists pick up the phone and listen to our ideas and kind of give us a little bit of leeway to take a creative direction or really define with them a creative direction. But the whole thing is super collaborative in nature, and it really crystallizes what the festival and what I think a meaningful festival is all about. It's something that wouldn't exist if not for the participation of all these incredible people. And it's a fluid landscape, and a lot of artists go out and they do their show every night, and they work with their same crew every night, and they play for their fans every night. But the fact that they would come out and work with us on something that is outside of their comfort zone and something special, and they're playing without a net. And again, it's like this idea that kind of crystallizes a great festival experience, that we're going someplace new and we're taking some chances. But at the end of the day, you lean on the talent. When you have world-class talent working with you, that's when the magic has a chance to take hold. And we put ourselves in a position that hopefully some magic can happen. And it's the magic of the music, it's the magic of these virtuoso artists. And then when you throw the fan energy into the mix, that's when we can really go to new heights together. And these are the kind of moments that we as producers are looking to create and celebrate with our fans.
I definitely really delved into the arrangements, of these songs, because they're kind of ingrained in my head, from the years, Elizabeth Reed and stuff. But when you really get into the arrangements, you really realize, the brilliance of it. And it's a very intricate music, the Allman Brothers music. There's just a lot to it, that when you get into the arrangements, you're really like, man, how did they think of that? And they were so young, and it's just brilliant music,
For me, to sit down and listen to these groups of songs and write it down, I say to myself, well, I've never heard that before, or I've never heard that beat change like that, or I've never heard that shaker or the tambourine, that they use. To me, doing these songs that were picked out for the Allman Brothers was a treat for me, because like I said, I got to dissect that song and listen to it. It was awesome.
It hit me hard when I started listening to these songs that I've heard most of them over the years, but I don't know how any of them start. I don't know how they end, and I don't know any of the nuances that go on throughout the song, and I better start getting familiar with these things fast. I always thought that J-Mo and Butch trucks were fantastic, but I have an even greater respect for what they brought to the Allman Brothers. There are songs like Whipping Post and Hotlanta and some others where when a song is being played in the time signature of 6/8, it's typically felt with a backbeat on the fourth beat, like zoom, and you can break it up however you want. But with J-Mo and Butch, it's more of this seamless busyness of things going on where you don't necessarily hear that backbeat. It's more like not zoom. Before I started listening to the music, I would just sit down at the drums and go, I'm sure we're going to be doing whipping post. So just in my mind, I'm playing the song thinking how you would play it until I sat down and started listening to the Allman Brothers playing whipping post and was like, forget it, dude. Like, you have it all wrong. It's time, to put on the learning hat and get an education here. So it's really nice, like at this late stage of the game, for me, I mean, I've been a professional musician, it's coming up on 50 years, and it's great to have to put your brain to work, to learn about new ways to do things. I like teaching an old dog new tricks.
It's called YouTube. I just pulled up his video. Is literally his old MTV videos and sat there with a guitar and played the song, Just had to make sure I knew the words, and once I had the words, and that was it, Just had to figure out a cool thing. I mean, it's kind of interesting, like to then play like Mike Campbell's classic guitar solo on, You Got Lucky. It's so simple, but so elegant and cool. And you don't have to change anything. You just play that, and it's iconic. It's an iconic a melody that he plays. And I think that was the good thing about the band. They never tried to show off. There was never any kind of like, instrumental pyrotechnics. Nobody's like riffing and going crazy, but it's just playing the right parts at the right time.
When songs have this solid of a foundation, then you can play with them a little more. And so we found ourselves extending outros or extending middle sections or adding harmonies or switching verses, things that the original recordings don't have, but because they're just so solid and because they're just so in the shared consciousness that it works, and we can play with it in a way that you can't with a lot of songs, especially like 3 minute and 30 songs. Like, this is not a jam band, and yet they can handle us pushing and pulling. I think it's a testament to the material.
Yeah, it is an interesting line to walk. I mean, I think it's you just have to follow your feeling, just like you always would playing music. But the thing that makes it easy is being genuinely inspired by the source material. You could say, the existing music is really inspiring and informed lots of things as an artist growing up and stuff like that. So coming from that place, it's easy. And then from there, it's just being true to yourself and trying to find that line.
Well, we're going to play it our own way. There's individuals in the group here that are going to make it their own interpretation of these songs. However, we all respect the songs and respect the recordings, and we're very familiar with them, so we don't stray too far away. But when it comes time to solo, we do it the way that we do it.
I mean, I try to honor it the way that it was. I'm sort of a purist in that way. I don't want to go messing around with it too much, but I'm also authentic to myself, so I can only, veer so far from myself as I can. But I think, honoring the music and honoring the way that it was created and honoring yourself and your own authenticity, it's sort of the way I try to digest it.
If it wasn't something important and something iconic, then you probably wouldn't be playing that song. So you don't want to stray too far afield from the original. But at the same time, I don't sing like Tom Petty. So I'm going to sing it kind of the way I sing it, as best I can, but keeping that in mind. It's a as you said, it's a little bit of a fine line, a tightrope, or you can just go nuts and just take it and go completely, take it out to some other place, But I don't know. For these songs, they seem like, and Dawes kind of feels like the Heartbreakers to me. They come from that same kind of place. The way they play, their attitude, and I think a lot of their roots. Tom Petty's deep in the band's roots, which is cool too, because they know the songs backward and forward. So all I got to do is take a ride with them.
When I find myself in a new situation, I try first and foremost to be true to the music and not say, oh, I'm bringing what I want to bring to this particular thing. So here we are doing an Allman Brothers Dream Set. It's like, no. Let's listen to J-Mo and Butch Trucks and try to get in their heads as the starting point. And then maybe I could bring, some of who I am into it. But always try to be true to the music. Otherwise, it's no longer that.
We want to create the type of overall experience with the festival where we're doing something that people haven't seen before. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. Festivals in general have an improv energy to them. In these shows, we're working with virtuoso artists that are comfortable in a fluid musical and changing musical landscape. And when we can get into an environment where producers, artists, fans don't exactly know where something's going to go, and we're all going to find out together, those are the moments that I think you chase. And those are the moments that can be really meaningful and create a sense of community, discovery, and adventure for everybody. And it's really the kind of things that we live for.
We were on tour with this band, The Head and the Heart, we were opening, and they were, every day when we did sound check, we would just be playing Tom Petty songs. I was talking to their lead singer, John, and he was like, I thought that you guys just didn't like playing your own songs at sound check because you wanted to keep that fresh. I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. I'm like, no, that's not what's going on. We're desperately trying to learn these songs in time. It was definitely done on the road on stages for us. And then these last 2 days is just kind of giving everybody a 45 to an hour window of, like, you know, try to show up at around these times if you can. But what that's led to is a lot of people just bleeding into other songs. Like originally Dwayne wasn't going to stay up on the last song, but now because he was just standing there when we started playing it, he is. And there's been a lot of that. It's important for us to pass it around and toss it around. So in some cases, I'm just standing there. I'm not even playing a rhythm part. I'm just let other people handle that, let other people handle the solo or the vocal. But yeah, we try to make sure it doesn't get too self-indulgent. But I think when there's these people that the fans are so excited to see, it's really hard to cross that line and get and take it too far.
Listening is the key word. This kind of music, which falls into that jam band heading, is such that from night to night, you don't really know where the music is going to go. And so in order to kind of fulfill your purpose as one of the musicians playing, you need to be listening to what's going on around you, because what you might think is coming might not happen, and something completely different could happen. So if your ears are not attuned to what's around you, you could run into some trouble.
With a group like this, when you do a one-off and you have this many awesome, talented musicians, I mean, you really don't have to do that much work. It's really, like, for me, I just had to touch on a couple things I really haven't played in a handful of years. The hard thing is which versions are everybody listening to? Are you listening to the original 60s stuff or the 70s stuff, or are you listening to the 80s versions, or did you listen to the Dickie Betts Band versions? So that's kind of the fun part, is figuring out which ones everybody's been listening to, then combining all those different eras into this one super jam. So it's kind of neat. It's very modular. You know, we can take the different pieces and kind of stick them together. And now we've made it more frustrating for future musicians, because now we've added other versions of these songs on top of the decades worth of versions that are already out there. So it's kind of fun in a way to, you know, mess with them a little bit. And, you know, because we're not trying to do it exactly like they did, you know, to the T. Again, you know, we want to showcase everybody's abilities. I mean, it's nice having both the organ and Chuck on the keys. You know, that's a little different than adding the percussion, because like the early Allman Brothers didn't have percussion, and then the different guitar players and singers that are coming in and out. So it's really neat to see where they end up versus where we started. And now it's like, oh, this is really cool.
Generationally, what I have learned is that the musicians are happy to continue and pass it down. Like, they want these songs to continue a life and continue living. And in my experience with these songs, whether it's the Allman Brothers or the Grateful Dead or whatever it is, there's a generosity and like a handing the baton, you know, and when you get to commingle generationally with original players, it makes it really special to get to play these songs with, you know, the people who created them.
Drums are providing a lot of rhythm, and there are so many notes potentially that can be happening simultaneously, and now also with a percussionist like Sonny. So I'm keenly aware of the fact that things can get out of control. Now, it might be fun for me to just play the way I normally play as the only drummer in the band, but looking to my right now and seeing two other guys, a lot of the time I'll try to pull things back to let the music breathe a little more, and then find those spaces where it's okay for me to let loose and do my thing. But it's not like throwing caution to the wind from note one till the end. It'd be a disaster. And we would probably get some interesting, not so nice looks from the guys in front of us playing the guitars, bass, and keyboards.
Yeah, but we're used to that.
Yeah, we're used to that.
But, this says a lot about the bands who are being represented. I'm sure Tom Petty, and I definitely know that the Allman Brothers, they were a tight-knit family. I think the musicians have that vibe, amongst themselves as that, it is a family when we gather, we ride in the same van, we eat in the same room, it's a unit that is strong and builds on the professionalism and the character of the individuals involved.
Over the last 3 days, it's just become a bunch of guys getting together into a band. So I think what people are going to see is like a real band, and not just guys kind of sitting in playing old songs. So I'm looking forward to that.
I want them to go for a ride with us. Get in the spaceship, go for a ride, go to new heights as a group and as a community. And I think that that's what an amazing festival experience is all about. And we want to create a number of those experiences every day at All In Festival. This year is the first year in the history, and we're going to build on it in the future, but this is what we do. This is what we did with Bonnaroo, this is what we did with Okeechobee, and it's for everybody. At the end of the day, we're producing something that we're going to get to experience, and we're going to get to experience it with amazing artists and amazing fans. And that's kind of why we do these festival events. It's to have these shared moments that the only people that truly understand it are the people that were there. And maybe the people that missed it have FOMO, but they won't make that same mistake again. So it's, I think you can always have a good North Star if you're producing something that you are genuinely excited to see and inspired to help create. And then you share that with the artists and you share that with the audience, and we all go someplace together, and that's where the real magic happens.
They get a chance to see other artists reinterpret in a way. Everyone wants to have that sense of the familiar, And these songs here again, they're part of the rock and roll legacy of great songs. So it's just a lot of fun.
I'm hoping that the audience understands that this is their set as much as ours. And, we have a couple deep cuts, but for the most part, with all Tom Petty songs, they're mostly hits. So everyone knows these songs, and I'm hoping that people get involved as much as we are. And I'd be happy if they just took over lead vocals and really got in there with us.
And just like, the people that experience the music, that are celebrating the music on the Dream Set, each audience member has their own perspective, and the music means a little bit of something different to each person. And so that collective experience is all going to happen. It's all these different people that have all this different perspective on the music, and they're all going to be experiencing it from literally like their own little spot wherever they happen to be standing. And that's the shared experience that I think makes a festival so meaningful. And that's why, I think people seek out these experiences. We're going to experience, we're going to celebrate, we're going to perform this music in our own way and in a new way. And we got 2 days to do it, and we have one show, and it's all this buildup. We've been working on this show for months, and we're gonna experience that, for the first time at the same time with the artists and with the audience, and that's the special magic of a show like this.